Hi, I'm Cassie.
And today we're having the sex talk. And today on the sex talk, I brought Cassie along because Cassie runs this really great I guess you would call it like a Facebook group.
I have a Facebook group, a Facebook page, a website, and Instagram's caught on fire. I'm close to 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, it's called Empowered Trans Woman. Mm-hmm. And she also did Sex Positive World, Sex Positive LA, so that's how I know her. But I wanted to bring her on today to talk a little bit about pronouns for transgender or gender non-conforming people.
Absolutely, yes, and it's a subject close to my heart.
Yeah. So let's kind of break it down. Like, what are the pronouns that we should be using?
Well, the default pronoun, and I can talk about this one in extent, is they, them.
Yes.
And I concur with, for example, Laurie Bennett and several other, Laurie Bennett Cook is a friend of mine and a therapist, and several other therapists in the fact that using they, them as a default is a good idea.
Yeah.
Cis, trans, or non-binary doesn't matter. It's just a good modality to not assume gender, and I'd like to speak a little bit on this assumption of gender. And then we have he, him for masculine and for male, and she, her for femme for feminine. And there are a couple other pronouns that have kind of not caught on. Zer is one that we tried to throw out there, and it didn't just get as much quorum. But there's a few others. But they, them is becoming more and more the standard for gender non-conforming.
Yeah, and you're saying, like, if you're referring to someone, like I noticed you asked about my partner, and you said they.
Yeah, they.
Yeah. So you're saying just as a general default, if we don't know,
Mm-hmm.
we should be using they.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are many layers on that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing is that gender non-conforming people are still living in a society that marginalizes us.
Yeah.
So as a result, quite often people might be gender non-conforming and just not visible as such. So it's good to give a little nod to that, because for one thing it kind of gives somebody the opportunity to maybe highlight their gender identity, to maybe bring it to the forefront, whereas otherwise if you had imposed upon them the he or the she pronoun, they would have then felt kind of corralled and kind of like, well, okay, I guess we're going to stick to that and we're not going to take a risk or be brave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also just the fact that there are these identities, and not to take us off focus, but in terms of intersectionality, it's very common in the Western world, in Europe and the United States, to assume that the normal person is white, to assume that the normal person is heterosexual, the normal person is cisgender, and that's not really a positive. I mean, in terms of sheer numbers, actually, in terms of sheer numbers in the world, the normal person is an Asian young woman. In terms of numbers.
Okay.
Like, what kind of human is there more of?
Right.
But, so in the West, sure, white people are a majority, cisgender people are a majority, heterosexual people are a majority, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're any more normal than anybody else.
Right.
So to lean a little bit away from that and be inclusive and to acknowledge diversity, it's a much better idea to, instead of, like for example, when we say you guys, when we say, well, we're going to speak to the manager and he's going to tell us, instead of making these assumptions of the fact that the normal is male,
Right.
to challenge that and
Yeah.
to put the they pronoun there.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it, and one of the main reasons that I wanted to have you on is because so much of it is second nature. We don't even realize how we're constantly perpetuating this sort of like normative culture, right?
It is. We drink in the propaganda constantly,
Yeah.
and then we regurgitate the propaganda constantly, and we're not even aware of the fact that we're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to what extent we are carrying these narratives.
Even like, oh man, dude, you guys, I mean, and I'm so guilty of it. I do it all the time, and I'm, constantly like, folks.
And to be fair, there isn't yet a really good, and English is not my first language, it's my third. So I find it really annoying that English did away with the thou and the thy, because it would have been really good to have to acknowledge the singular and the plural.
The thy and the
you,
thou.
you, and of course you have you guys, because we're trying to fill in the blank for like no plural.
Right.
What do we have y'all?
Y'all, you people.
Yeah, you lot in British, right? You lot.
The lot of you. I like that. A lot of you. That's a good one. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So I mean, if it's a couple, then saying you both could work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's awkward. We don't have a really good. In Spanish, you have ustedes, which is really good because it's all of you. In Russian, you have вы, and it's really clear that you're speaking to a group or you're speaking to the person. I don't know why English thought that it does not need
some of Spanish too, though, like some of it is gendered, like the la and the l.
Oh,
right?
Spanish is gender in the most bizarre ways, because we have the gender of people,
and then there's some
things are
random for inanimate objects that are like have genders too. Yeah,
and it's very understood. This is hard to process for somebody who doesn't speak Spanish innately, but to Spanish speakers, this is not gender in terms of human experience. This is not gender in terms of sexual dynamics or anything like that. It's just a syntactical gender.
Okay.
And nobody cares. The same thing happens in Russian and several other languages. In Argentina, where I was born and raised, the word for penis, the word for cock, and so the word for schlong,
for cock, for schlong,
is pija, which is a female word.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
And in Spain, the word for pussy is coño, which is a masculine word.
Coño.
That makes no sense.
Well, it's funny because I always say like feminine and masculine does, like a lot of, when you say feminine, people just assume girl.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But I always say like girls don't own femininity and men don't own masculinity, but it's almost like the synonym.
Right there we're unpacking this much bigger issue, which is what does it mean to be a woman, what does it mean to be female, what does it mean to be feminine, and these are all different layers.
Yeah.
You have women who are not feminine, and so forth.
You have females that are not women.
Yes, exactly. So you have non-binary people who are non-binary but would not describe themselves as a girl. It's kind of funny because I dated a non-binary for a couple of years, and my running joke, which I found really funny, I don't know if they found it as funny, was the fact that I'm really simple. I'm a traditional girl, and they're the complicated one. Because I identify in a very binary way as a woman. There is the nuance, the detail, I suppose, of the fact that I have a trans experience. But to me, even the word gender non-conforming, for me, that's a little bit of like, fine, I guess.
Well, if you have to, but you don't have to.
Right? Because I suppose I'm under that umbrella, but I very much identify myself as she, her, girl, woman, feminine.
So for a non-binary person,
there has been no solution. America came up with one solution, which is to add the X. So instead of Latina and Latino, you have Latinx.
That's why you see a lot of Latinx now.
Yeah, which is really good to write, but it's really bothersome to pronounce.
Right, everyone's like Latinx.
Latinx, yeah. It sounds like it's like spandex or something. In South America, there's been a different wave, which is we add the at symbol, which is, it could function as the O or as the A, content. Again, it's unpronounceable, and then you just adjust it to whatever the situation is. But recently, and I'm talking about the last couple of years, they came up with the bestest approach, which is they invented a whole new designation, which is contente with an E.
That's really smart.
Yes, it's so smart. So now you have todos, all of you guys, todas, all of you girls, and todes, which is all
everyone,
of y'all.
all of y'all, all you folks.
And it's really neat the way the younger generations are pushing that. There was just recently, I saw a video of a 7-year-old girl who is at home telling her mom how she keeps saying todas, todos y todes. And the teacher is disputing that because it's not in the Spanish Royal Dictionary.
Not yet. Not yet, because we have, I was having a conversation about the masculine, feminine thing, and if you look in the old dictionary, it does say masculine describes male. But today, if you look in the dictionary, it doesn't say the same thing. Like, there's definitely been changes happening slowly, but the dictionary is kind of like the Bible.
Yeah, it's
and so many. If
the
it's in the
reacts to the
dictionary,
culture. The culture shouldn't wait for the dictionary.
Right,
The dictionary adapts and reacts to. Yeah, like for example, the word woke made the dictionary recently.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so I wanted to add to that they was recently adopted, I think, by the American Psychiatric Association. So it's becoming more recognized.
Perfect.
A lot of people push back against they and them because they're saying, well, that's plural. But in reality, in the 17th century, even in the 16th century, it was pretty common to use they for singular when you just don't happen to be, when you don't know or when you don't want to state the gender. So it's been a recognized singular form.
It's actually, it's funny, when I was in my 20s and I was dating women and I wasn't out, or I would be at work and I wasn't out, I would not genderize my partner, and I would say, oh yeah,
my plus one.
My plus one. Oh, they're coming later. And so that, that reminded me of that, like I used to use they a lot, but only because I was hiding my sexuality at the time.
And sometimes it's convenient to not say. So by the way, one way that for if you're listening to this and the they them pronoun for an individual person seems weird to you, a really good framing for that is, imagine you go to a pizza place and you're there with friends and you don't know where the bathroom is. So you're going to ask the manager where the bathroom is, and they're going to tell you. You're going to ask them and they're going to tell you, and once they tell you, you're going to go to the bathroom. The manager is one person. You're going to ask them, they're going to tell you. Do you see?
Yeah. Instead of saying ask gender.
Right.
Manager.
I mean, you could say, I'm going to ask the manager. He's going to tell me.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's a dude, so that's what I'm trying to say.
Even if the person looks like a dude, you still don't know, right?
Exactly.
Right. Even if their name says Brandon, you still don't know.
You still don't know. You still don't know because chances are, especially if they have a name like Autumn or Phoenix, it might be hard to tell. Or because they might be transitioning and they might be in the closet or whatever. I have had a couple of silly situations with pronouns and with gender, and I think sometimes when I speak to an audience, I want to break the idea that, oh my god, Cassie's positioned herself as an expert and stuff like that. I make mistakes all the time, and by the way, you're going to make mistakes, and
I make mistakes every
so
day.
to push back against this idea of like, well, then we're working on eggshells, and what we do will make your mistakes and then apologize and
make your mistakes and own it. It's okay. It's okay. Like when Cassie walked in, it was like, I misgender people all the time because it's the way that I was raised, and I'm working on it. That's why I brought Cassie on here.
Exactly, and so that's and Barack Obama said something really important about this recently. The fact that we tend to create this environment where we're policing our language and stuff like that. Then we're all just terrified and careful all the time. That's not what we're trying to do.
Right.
Just constantly listen and learn, own your mistakes, like Moose said, and just
keep growing.
Exactly. But okay, 2 examples where I totally screwed it up. Okay. So one example is, so I'm getting like all on the soapbox and irked and stuff, and I'm like, just, of course you care about your pronouns. What are your pronouns? And this person's like, I don't care. And I said, come on, if somebody referred to you as sir, it would bother you. And they're like, no. And I said, if somebody called you a dude, if somebody said mister, wouldn't that feel out of place? They're like, no. They very much look like a woman, like a suburban middle-aged woman. So now I become a little bit more skeptical of my own position. I become a little bit more curious. So I started asking them questions about their life, and they never really cared about gender one way or the other. And they never really identified as a girl, like they always felt either way, they always didn't care. Now, of course, they come to realize I'm probably looking at a gray gender person here. I'm probably looking at some form of agender person. And they really don't care about their pronouns. So it's kind of funny because I was trying to school them and they schooled me. So
yeah,
okay.
We all get to be schooled, right?
Yeah, and it's important to just. I think this is something really important for the progressive crowd to just have the humility to listen and learn.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's pretty much it for the pronoun talk. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so a nuance I want to add is like I'm very, very happy with she and her. Sure, I'm trans, I'm very much a girl, so they, them for me feels a little bit like, oh, you're not really acknowledging me. So they, them feels really right for a person that doesn't feel male or female, or somebody that feels both in their heart.
I could definitely feel okay with they, them. I'm she, her, and I'm they, them, for sure.
Perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
so for Mo, this would be a good fit.
And that's why I go by Mo.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's not necessarily a gender
Yeah.
word. So they, them, she, her, she, her.
Awesome. That was amazing. That was the sex talk, the sex gender pronoun talk.